How's it going, everybody? This is Alex Caceres, and you're listening to Story of the Fight.
What is up, bro?
What's up, Ramiro?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing.
And now there's no sound coming through for me. But hey, either way, I want to go through. There's no sound coming through for me right now. But even though there's no sound coming through, I will say Happy New Year to you, sir. How are you doing?
Happy New Year. I'm sleepy. I'll be honest. He can't hear me, but I'm sleepy. Back to you.
Yeah, I don't know what you said at all right now. But we'll try to get through this right now. What a way to kick off the new year, huh?
Yeah, with technical difficulties.
That's the best way to kick it off. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now all of a sudden. The computer bounces back and forth from like giving me audio on the computer speakers to headphones. The funny thing is that my headphones were completely turned off. And then it just stopped working. So, but yeah, hey, what'd you do last night? Did you do anything fancy?
I did my third Christmas at my dad's house.
Third Christmas.
We've had first Christmas, but what about second? What about third? We got and then fourth Christmas today.
Dang, man, that's awesome, dude. Well, going for four Christmas, that's pretty legit. How about Rich Casual? You were
What's
a little
up?
tipsy last night?
Happy New Year. Yeah, I was just
Happy New Year.
Going ham 2023. Turns out Y2K was 23 years late for Ramiro, messing up all his electronics.
Dude, yeah, New Year hits, and all of my machines decide to shut down. They're like, no, man, we weren't set up for 2023, you know?
You didn't change the date.
Right.
Yeah, that is hilarious. But going into this weekend,
T3000. All right, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
T3000. This guy. All right. Well, yeah. Going into the weekend, no UFC, right? But we had RIZIN to look forward to.
Every year.
And you're the one that said, hey, we should cover the RIZIN card that's coming up for New Year.
I wanted to do it even before they announced the Bellator versus RIZIN, because last year the RIZIN show on New Year's was like my favorite card of the year, one of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I mean, we're gonna have to. I'm gonna watch it regardless, but we should talk about it. And then there was no UFC, and I was like, we should definitely talk about it. And then Scott Coker, the madman, was like, hey, we're also coming. And it's like, what? We're definitely gonna talk about it
then. Scott Coker, man, that guy. Say what you will about Scott Coker. But all his fighters speak really highly of him, and he is down to do these cross promotions, which is awesome for the fans. Down to clown, man. Yeah. But hey, before we actually dive deep into this card, I won't even say too deep because I think we're only going to cover the 5 fights, right?
Yeah, we're not covering RIZIN 40. We're just covering Bellator versus RIZIN.
Yeah, but if anybody likes the podcast, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Goes a long way. If you don't like watching on Spotify or YouTube, but you like listening, you still have Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Anchor FM, pretty much anywhere podcasts are found. Everywhere. And then you can also find us on social media.
Yeah, it's at Story of the Fight on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Twitch, everywhere.
StoryofTheFight.com.
Yeah.
Look at everywhere. Look at us. New year. And but yeah, so let's go and get into the fight right now. We had AJ McKee versus Roberto de Souza. And this is the main event. 3-round main event, right?
That was the only thing. The only drawback was the fact that this was 3 rounds instead of 5.
Yeah, and so I'll let you kick us off, Will, because you are the big RIZIN fan, right? What did you think of the card overall? What did you think of the main event?
Yeah, overall it was cool, right? 5 fights, Bellator versus RIZIN in each one, except for the Horiguchi fight is kind of weird because Horiguchi technically fights for both. He fights for RIZIN. I mean, he has a belt in RIZIN right now. And Sakaki Bara was like, yeah, you can go fight in Bellator. So he challenged Sergio Pettis for the bantamweight belt over there. And then outclasses him completely until he gets KO'd with like a random spinning back fist. And it was like, damn, it would have been so cool if he had the RIZIN belt. And
which they showed in slow motion replay a few times.
It's like, come on.
I was like, damn.
But then they So he technically was fighting for Bellator in this one. So the Bellator versus RIZIN thing, he was on Team Bellator for this, even though he's a champ in RIZIN. But so
Weird.
Kind of weird, but I'm glad he was on the card because I love watching him fight anytime I can, especially at this weight class, not at 135. This was at 125. But yeah, so that's kind of the whole thing, right? And then I think before the Pitbull fight was supposed to be the main event when they first announced it, and then they switched it to the AJ McKee versus Satoshi fight, which is like a no-brainer. When they first had the card lined up, I was like, what? Why are you not doing Satoshi versus McKee?
Yeah.
Like, that's the fight. And so now we'll talk about that. But man, just so cool. They got the big screens, they got the fireworks. To kick off the show, they have the fireworks and they introduce everybody, and like AJ McKee's like in the ring already. There's people lined up. They got Scott Coker in there, Sakaki Barr's in there in a tuxedo. I was like, this is fucking awesome, man. This is like, and they're playing the Pride music through the whole stadium. So you're just like, it's the nostalgia is crazy for me. Like listening to the Pride music while they're announcing everybody, I was just like, this is fucking awesome. This is why they do it. New Year's Japan MMA is so fucking cool. What did you think about all that? Like the theatrics before the event?
Oh, it was cool. Now I still like favor the production of one.
It's unmatched.
Yeah, the overall production from one is by far my favorite production. Yeah, look at you representing with that sweater on. But man, I just finished watching this thinking like, man, I just wish that more organizations hopped on the cross promotion, man.
Dude, like I saw a bunch of people saying like after this, so AJ McKee wins, right? We'll talk about that in a sec, but a bunch of people were like, spoiler alert, but a bunch of people were like, oh man, after this, AJ like has to go to the UFC and like he has to go. And I'm like, he's probably not going to make more money in the UFC.
No.
And like the UFC's never going to do stuff like this. Like this is like, you could tell how stoked he was to do this. Like he was loving it. And it's like, this is the type of shit you get outside of the UFC, like cool shit like this. Like the UFC at this point has just become like so soulless, you know? And I know I trash talk them all the time, the UFC, but like, and I do obviously enjoy it. I watch every fucking fight, but like, I don't see the draw for AJ McKee to go there when this might become a routine thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They've already had plenty of crossovers with Bellator and RIZIN. I think they've had like 4 different fights throughout the year where they had RIZIN fighters fighting in Bellator, or Bellator fighters going over to RIZIN. Like this is what mixed martial arts should be, you know. Like,
and he said he plans on going back and getting a belt. He said hopefully I can get a belt in RIZIN.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. How cool would that be? And it makes me think like I wish they used to do stuff like this like in the like mid 2000s, right? And it makes me think like we just had the World Cup, right? We just in next year in March we're gonna have Happy New Year's. This year in March, we're gonna have the World Baseball Classic, right? Happens every 4 years, and it's like all there's Team America, Team Dominican Republic, Team Cuba, like all these different like all the players from the MLB go back to their countries and play in a massive tournament. How cool would it be if every 4 years, like MMA did something like that, where there's like everybody just breaks up and there's like a massive tournament at each weight class, and the organizations don't matter. Like how fucking cool would that be? And you get like the World MMA Cup, and there's like a trophy at the end for each weight class. Like I know it will never happen, but
it'd be so hard.
This type of stuff, it'd be so hard. I mean, there'd be pullouts and stuff like that, but like think about how deep like bantamweight is in the UFC. But then you add all these guys from Bellator and RIZIN and ONE FC. Like there'd be a bunch of pullouts, but like it really wouldn't matter at the end of it because you have a pool of like a bunch of dudes. So like I just wish
saying like if somebody wins like a fight, right? Like how soon can they get back in there? Because in baseball, you can play 2-3 games in a week, and they're like, hey, let's keep this tournament rolling.
I don't know, man. I saw Shogun beat Overeem and Ricardo Arona in the same night, so it's doable.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know, dude. I just think this day and age, with these fighters, I don't know if they.
That's true.
They'd be
it
able
is
to go
tough.
through.
It's like, all right, everybody, the UFC, Bellator, RIZIN, ONE, everybody take a year off. no fights, so that everybody can recover in between these, and we just do it like every few months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pipe dream, but man, how cool would that be? You know,
Oh, it'd be amazing.
Because MMA is always about like and it's one thing that got lost in boxing is like it's supposed to be the best fighting the best, right? Every fight you take is to elevate yourself to the best so that you can fight the best. But when we have all these different organizations, ultimately it's a good thing, I think. But that's one thing where that is the con of like all these other good organizations. Unless you do events like this where the best do fight the best, right? But I don't know. The UFC will never do it.
Sad.
And I don't blame them, honestly. You know?
Yeah, and as I was watching this last night, again, I thought, man, I wish more organizations did this cross promotion. And at the same time, I was saying to myself, like, can you imagine UFC champions losing to an AJ McKee or a Satoshi, and then Dana White? Like, where does that leverage and promotion go? Where he's like, hey, well, the best in the world fight here.
Yeah, it's gone. And if they win, there's really not like. For most of the audience, they're going to be like, well, yeah, the UFC guys, of course, are going to win. So there's really no like upside to it at all for the UFC. All the upside goes to whoever they're cross promoting with. There's zero upside for the UFC to do anything like it. And that's why it'll never happen. But I wish.
I wish. All right. Well, let's get going here with AJ McKee versus Roberto de Souza.
And in the walkouts, AJ McKee walks out in the samurai outfit. And then Satoshi just walks out with the gi and shorts. And I was like, oh, okay. We're just doing the standard walkout on this side. You could tell the Bellator team was like, we're in Japan. We're going all out with our walkouts.
Do it up.
And everybody from the RIZIN side was like, yeah, it's just normal. Like, we're not going to.
They had a good time with it, though, man.
Yeah, they definitely did. They definitely did.
You know, the walkouts were pretty fun. I think that's one of the things that I texted you about last night. Like on fight nights, we try not to text each other very much about the fights because we're going to talk about them the next day anyways, right?
Yeah.
So the interactions we have about the fights are like, they're genuine. Like we hadn't really talked about them. But the one thing I had to text you about last night was just the walkouts, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. And look at Khabib back there, just not even paying attention. Just either sleeping or he's on his phone.
Oh, he's got to be on his phone,
the flannel.
Man.
Yeah.
He's texting Hasbullah. But you have Roberto de Souza and McKee both coming in with only one loss on their record, right?
I think so, yeah. And Satoshi, AJ's only loss is Pitbull, right? Yeah. So a fight he already won, right? So his one loss, he has a win over the guy already. And Satoshi, his one loss, he finished him the next time they fought. So both of them have a loss, but both of them have also beaten the guy that has beaten them. So this matchup, when they announced this, I was like, this is why you do events like this. This is the one I want to see. I thought it delivered completely. This was such a fun fight. McKee going out there was like, all right, just don't go to the ground with him. And then, but even though McKee's specialty is the ground, Satoshi just does this thing where they ended up on the ground. And I was Jack Slack put a video out like a couple days ago explaining how Satoshi sets up his arm bars or his triangle. Sorry, most guys, right? They'll get the wrist control and they'll basically force one hand down so that they can throw their leg up over it and then lock up the triangle. Satoshi does this new school style, which is like kind of like a Danaher Death Squad style, where he'll get the overhook. He'll get the underhook and get the other guy's arm wrapped around him, and then he'll lock it up like this, and he'll hug him. And then from there, he's able to turn his hips, and then that arm is trapped. And instead of having to push the arm down, he already has the arm that's going to be in. But then when he throws his legs up, people are usually wise to it, and they sit back, and then he switches and pushes the hand down and attacks the other side. And he immediately got that grip, and I was like, oh, there's the setup. There's the setup. But then McKee did the fantastic thing where he kind of walked him into the corner and stuffed him, because that's the thing a lot of people were saying was, I mean, he still got the triangle up. I mean, how good is that? And he's so quick with it. Like, God damn, he shot it up. And but a lot of people were like, in Bellator, if someone's trying to attack a triangle or something like that, you can kind of stuff him into the cage and he doesn't have any room. But with the ring, they can wall walk kind of, or not wall walk, sorry, like mat walk with their shoulders and kind of go through the ropes like Satoshi's almost doing here. And they can get more space, right? Because it's not like his head's popping out, but it's not like they're going to reset him in the middle. So it's like you're in more danger. But then McKee fantastic game plan to move him directly into the post and just stuff him into the post, and it completely nullified his triangle attacks. I thought both of them had so many cool moments in this fight, and both of them had so many cool like answers to those moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a little chess match, and that
was
first
really
round,
cool.
it was a lot of Satoshi kind of trying to grab a hold of whatever you can and throwing up different setups. And
dude, he went from
McKee
leg lock to triangle at one point.
Yeah,
I was like, what? How do you
man.
do that?
In that second round, they came out and they came out swinging a little bit more. And that
Swinging
second round, dude, it was awesome. And then I think it was a body shot, right? A kick. Right to the body that kind of dropped Satoshi a little bit. I don't know how much of it was like him really being sat down, and how much of it was him like trying to, coax McKee onto, the
old Verdum.
Getting back into the ground game, man. But then the like different elements too, right? Where like McKee goes in for the big foot stomp on the stomach.
Yeah.
And then like Satoshi like tries to grab onto the leg as quickly as possible. And he had this like really sick move, man, McKee, where he's like threatening with the stomp to the stomach, but he sidesteps and goes with the soccer kick to the head while Satoshi's on his back. And I was like, man, that's nuts,
dude.
But it was such a fun fight.
Yeah, when Satoshi took his back in the second round, I was like, oh my God, like there's no way. There's like 2 minutes left. There's no way he survives this, AJ McKee. And then he had the body triangle, but the problem was he was a little too high up. Even though they're on the ground and both on their backs, laying back, right? He was too high to get the actual choke, right? AJ McKee was able to defend really well. And then he started turning into him. Satoshi tried to go like omoplata, right? And McKee sidestepped that and then ended up almost like in a stacked guard, right? And that's where he threw that soccer kick around the corner, and I was like, "Oh my God!" The way he turned his hips around to land that soccer kick was nasty. And Satoshi just ate it. He just took the kick and was like, "I'm still working." And then the third round, I thought Satoshi was doing really well in that third round. I think AJ McKee was starting to slow down a little bit. And then Satoshi took his back again, and they're standing up as a nasty body kick. Satoshi took his back again, and they were in the corner, like standing up, right?
Look at this picture that Rich just put up. Look how close he was to actually sinking that in.
So close. I had a guy on Reddit. I commented on the live thread so I woke up in the morning. I didn't stay up all night for this because this was Saturday morning for us, right? That this was live. And I woke up and I was like, I woke up like 3:30, 3:45. And I was like, let me just see. Because I'll just wait and watch the tape delay because Bellator's all their bullshit. But and then I was like, let me just see where they're at. And it was Horiguchi fight. So I was like, I'll just find a stream and stay up and just watch this. So it was like early in the morning watching this, and there wasn't a lot of people commenting on the Reddit threads for it, but I commented about how cool the fight was, and someone was like, I don't know, it was kind of boring when Satoshi was on his back and couldn't get the finish. And I was like, boring? I was like, the first one, he was threatening, and then as soon as they escaped, AJ McKee soccer kicked him. Like, that doesn't seem very boring. And then, I mean, that's not boring. And then the second time, when they're standing up in the corner and he's backpacking him, right? He's got the body triangle, got his back. They're standing up in the corner. Nasty darts attempt by AJ there. AJ had some nasty submission threats on his own. I thought it was really cool. Yeah. But they're standing in the corner, and there's like 40 seconds left, and AJ, instead of, this is not the safe thing to do, but it's definitely the exciting thing to do, where AJ just front flips forward and spikes Satoshi on his head.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's definitely not boring. And then and then when he spiked him, the reason you don't do that is because who knows how you're going to end up, but he's locked onto your back regardless. And then he got the choke in. And AJ was able to take top hand down and survive it, but he slammed him into the choke basically. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to get it. Could you imagine if he spiked him on his head and then he choked him out with like 10 seconds left? Would have been insane. What a great fight, man. The card itself was I don't know if it necessarily delivered to like people's expectations, but I thought this fight on its own saved the entire card if there was any doubt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this fight was pretty good. Look at that picture. That looks so sweet. Like the way that they're chilling there.
I know.
Like bringing in the new year together. He's all hugging them. But I thought it was a fun fight. And man, the entire time watching this too, the other thing I'm thinking is like, oh, it's George's boys versus Will's boys, man. Let's see what happens here.
I
You know,
know.
George's fight. I wonder if you already watched all the fights.
Yeah, I don't know. I would imagine he did on the Showtime show.
By the way, look at this picture.
I know.
So
Archuleta.
this is Archuleta in the background with his Aztec Warrior outfit on. And then you have McKee with the samurai helmet on, holding his, what would you say, I guess, trophy from RIZIN. And in the bottom right corner, you see Satoshi just sitting there. Like, there's so much going on in this picture right now.
I honestly thought once they went to the decision, I was like, this honestly could go either way. The way RIZIN is scored, I was like, I have no idea who's going to win this. And I was fine with no matter what. But you could tell it bumped Satoshi out quite a bit.
Oh, for sure. I mean, a lot of these fighters from the organization, from RIZIN organization, you can tell were really bummed out from the results.
Yeah, definitely. There was some results in this that I definitely don't agree with. And from the commission as a whole, and really weird to have Jason Herzog do all 5 fights. But I don't know. There were some things going on. I don't want to say there was like nefarious stuff in the background, but there were some weird things that went on in this card that I don't know.
All I know is that when RIZIN, or when this entire card was starting, and I'm like, who are these guys from the Yakuza just standing up there with tattoos all over their necks and on the back of their heads and sunglasses on inside, just like yelling all this stuff. It was nuts. But that's all I got on this fight, man. You have anything else?
Yeah. There was a really cool promo before talking about how AJ has the chance to like avenge his father's trip to Japan, where he came to Japan and lost. And it was such a cool promo. I was like, fuck, this is good. And yeah, it was cool. I don't think any of their stocks go down. I know a lot of people are going to see the fact that Bellator went 5-0 against RIZIN and think that RIZIN fighters suck or something like that. But I don't know. I still think Satoshi is like legit. He had AJ McKee in some trouble. He hurt him with his hands too. In that second round, Satoshi came out really aggressive with his hands.
I think caught him off guard a little bit.
Yeah,
especially how he went about the first round, where he was just, like I said, trying to grab onto anything he could, and then he came out swinging, and McKee was like, "Oh dang!"
He's like, "Oh." But I think too, every fight on this card, the RIZIN side of them, I thought put up a pretty damn good performance. Everything except for maybe the Horiguchi fight, but then at the same time, I count Horiguchi as a RIZIN fighter, so that also counts for me. So it's 5-0 at the end of the day, but much closer than that sounds, I think. You know what I mean?
Yep. All right. Before that, we had Patricio Pitbull versus Kleber. Is it Koike?
Who knows, man? Kleber.
Kleber. So
he's seen Bonsai too, though, with Satoshi.
Dude, this is another walkout where you have so much going on. You have a Pitbull walking out, and he is in this like Spartan,
the pregnant Spartan.
Yes, and then behind him, somebody from his corner is wearing the Jason mask.
The Jason mask, yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on right now? What kind of partnership is this? But this fight was a little slower for me. I felt like Pitbull came out and was very cautious. The entire 3 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, Pitbull's past his prime at this point by a few amount of years, I think. I think this was I don't know how Pitbull won this fight, if I'm being honest. I thought this was a clear win for Kleber. Yeah, Pitbull really just didn't do much of anything. He walked him down. He walked him down, and he might have won in Bellator rules, to be honest. But that's not necessarily how the scoring works over in RIZIN. And he did walk him down. He had Kleber in the corner pretty much the entire fight, but then would just kind of stand there while Kleber's throwing like tapping body kicks, tapping leg kicks, going up the middle with the front kick, and then it was Kleber who was also pushing the pace in the grappling, where he landed a couple of trips. Even when he was on his back, he pulled guard a couple times, where he would clinch up, pull guard. It's not like Pitbull took him down. He would pull guard, and then he's just immediately working off his back, landing elbows, landing nasty shots, honestly, off his back, while Pitbull's just trying to disengage. He's not even trying to land any shots of his own. He's trying to get out of there while Kleber's kind of chewing him up in his guard.
That hip toss at the end of the first round too by Kleber was so nice, man.
Oh, so cool.
I mean,
and then the trip in the
Pitbull rolled
second,
with it, and he just kind of like shoved him right off afterwards. But it was such a nice hip toss.
but he still hit the switch. Yeah, he still hit
Yeah.
the toss. Yeah, which is
That
all
was
that
sick.
matters,
That
especially
was
with 10
sick.
seconds left. But yeah, I don't know. Pitbull, he did land a good shot. He definitely had the more damaging as far as like the power behind his shots. But he just barely threw. He just didn't throw enough. And like,
Yeah.
I just don't know how Kleber lost this fight, to be honest. It was kind of
And after the first round, I thought maybe Pitbull's just, like you said, Bellator style, just kind of trying to win the end of the round. So that the judges' last memory of the round was Pitbull being more aggressive and landing some more shots. And there was a very clear difference in size, of course. I think it was like a 5-inch difference in height, a 6-inch difference in reach. So I can understand why Pitbull would be more cautious in closing the distance.
Yeah.
But not much happened. But he would try to work his way in. Yeah.
And the way scoring works in RIZIN, it's not round by round. It's the fight as a whole. It's damage, aggression, and control in that order. And the way it works is damage counts for 50 points. So whoever does the most damage gets 50 points throughout the whole fight. Whoever is the more aggressive one, pushing the pace, pushing the action, actively looking to, I think they classify it as like actively looking to finish the fight, that's 30 points. And then whoever controls the fight gets 20 points. So I don't know how, I just don't see how Pitbull won this fight, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, you see, like in the picture here, it's not like Kleber didn't land any shots of his own.
No, and it's like, okay, who's more aggressive? Pitbull maybe threw like harder punches, like he was throwing more like aggressively, technically, like they looked more vicious. But Kleber was the one who was pushing the pace on the feet, and he was the one pushing the pace on the ground to the point where he's pulling guard and starts chewing him up. He's landing hip tosses. He landed an inside trip that was really nasty. Like that's aggression. That's aggressive. I don't know how. I don't know. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
There was two.
Very
There was
weird.
two that I would have given to RIZIN that didn't go to RIZIN. But it is what it is.
Yeah, another one of the like questionable things that happened last night that you were probably mentioning, huh?
Yeah. This is definitely one of them. And then there's two more later. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a bummer because I thought Kleber won this, and that would have been big for him. But oh well. These things happens in MMA. How good are those gloves, though? Damn.
Oh, they're sick. The dark green.
Yeah, it just looks so cool.
Color. Oh my, it was super nice. All right.
Yeah.
Before that, we had
it was so awkward, dude.
The picture. Thanks,
Rich. The whole post fight with Pitbull was just so awkward. It looked like he like didn't know where he was and was like, "What is that? I've never had this happen at the end of a fight," even though he has. He's been there.
And the thing is, like,
so
this is another thing that really stuck out to me last night was this is why these organizations have figured it out in the U.S. and they don't just hand the mic over to the fighters.
Yeah.
You know, and specifically with another fighter we'll talk about later on, but this is one of those awkward moments where he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. You know,
he looked like a kid. He looked like a kid, like he like at like a new school or something, and like there's like a bunch of stuff happening that like all the other kids are used to, and he's just like, it was so funny, dude. It was so funny.
All right, man. Let's move on to the next fight. We had Kyoji Horiguchi versus Hiromasa.
Ougikubo.
Did I pronounce him correctly?
Yeah.
Nice. Yes. So like I had mentioned earlier, Horiguchi a few times that they show the replay of him getting knocked out.
Yeah.
By Sergio Pettis with that spinning back fist. And they're like, if that angle wasn't good enough for you, let me show you this other one in slow motion. And I'm like, damn, man. Isn't this one of their boys too?
It's like it's like one of their best fighters. He's so good, dude. He is so good. People think that he got cut from the UFC, but he actually turned down their contract offer when he was on his last fight. His only loss in the UFC was against DJ. That's it.
Wow.
Like, you know, that's not really he's only ever lost to the elite, you know what I mean? And the Pettis one he lost, but you know, he was dominating the fight just like he was dominating this one. And then got caught, and then he fought. Was it Patchy Mix? Did he fight Patchy Mix in Bellator after the Sergio Pettis one? Yeah, so he
I think
lost.
more of a question for George.
Yeah, so he lost the Patchy Mix fight. But in that fight, it's like Bellator doesn't have a flyweight division, and you could tell that. I mean, he came into this fight at 124. Like he shouldn't be fighting at 135. So a lot of people were thinking like, oh, this might be the kind of the end for him. 2 losses in a row, got knocked out by Pettis, and now he loses to Patchy Mix, who's not really like the elite of the elite, in my opinion. But I think he's just too small. I think because this is what happens when he fights a guy his size. I mean, he looked incredible.
Yeah,
Look at
man.
his leg.
Solid leg kicks. Solid leg
Look at
kicks to start off the fight. Yeah, those bumps and lumps and bruising and
he's got 2 knees. He's got a knee in the middle of his shin.
he came, and I think that just with like how hard he came out with those leg kicks in the beginning, it set up that right. That ended up dropping Ougikubo.
And his jab, it looks like he can land his jab from like 10 feet away. It's crazy.
You know, what was really awesome for me to see too is in the ground and pound, and you have Hiromasa like kind of like leaning out of the ropes, like and then you see Horiguchi lean like in the other separation of the ropes. And then just start landing bombs.
Yeah, it was
and like
nasty,
both of them have half their bodies out and still landing some nasty shots. How do you get a job there as the guy that just like
as the guy who
puts your hands up? Yeah, just pushes people back in. Like that'd be a sweet gig.
It'd be a sweet gig. They pull the ropes out to like keep them in them.
Yeah, and your boy Herzog, by the way, 5 fights last night in a row.
Yeah,
5 fights in a row.
Yeah, brutal.
5 fights in a row. There's a reason that they don't have him in there for 5 fights in a row.
Yeah. There's a reason they alternate.
Yeah, but your boy Herzog also moving the roups down and up, pulling ropes up so that the ropes wouldn't be on somebody's face, you know?
Yeah.
But it was very interesting, man.
That end of the first round when Gooch dropped him, and his head was sitting outside the ropes, and then Gooch is just like, all right, cool, I'll go too.
Yeah.
And then just unloads on it. He landed every single shot he threw. That was so gnarly. Props to Ougikubo, because that was he took it in that one. And then from then on, it was just Horiguchi just really kind of just putting on a clinic, doing whatever he wanted. Great performance.
Well, the last note I had on this fight is Kyoji just seemed faster, stronger.
He's so fast, man.
Yeah.
I wish
all in all the superior fighter for sure.
I selfishly wish he was still in the UFC at the flyweight division, but there was a interview that someone did, like his manager or something like that, or his agent, who was talking about how he'll never go back because just like he didn't say which sponsor it was, but one sponsor was paying him like $500,000 like for the fight. It's like, why would he ever leave? That's more than most. That's more than like most champions make in the UFC from the UFC, and they don't even get sponsors. Why would he ever leave?
That's rough.
Yeah. Plus, he gets to fight for 2 organizations. How cool is that? He's got a joint contract. It's fucking awesome.
Why not? Why not?
But that being said, I take this as a win for RIZIN, so 4-1. And the Kleber one, so that's 3-2. So
legit. All right.
Yeah.
You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, the other RIZIN win.
Yes, it's Juan Archuleta versus Suchol Kim.
Yeah. Shout out Tony. Says, dang, haven't talked to you guys since last year. Much love.
Oh, the best dad joke ever.
Yeah.
Coming in with the dad joke. Much love, Tony. Man, the walkout for Archuleta.
I'll give Archuleta the win on the walkouts.
Oh, hands down.
That was awesome.
Hands down.
It was awesome.
But he comes out and it's
how cool is that? Come on.
The Aztec death whistle.
Yeah.
That it starts off with.
There's fire everywhere. The Bellator, like on the background, the logo of Bellator on the screens looks sick. Like 10 out of 10 walkout.
Oh, 100%, man. And he's doing the Aztec dance on the way down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this is so legit. The only thing that could have topped it is one of his corner men wearing a Jason mask on there as well.
Yeah.
To just throw everybody off.
And it's like, hey, man, if you're a guy who kind of gasses out at the end of the fights, maybe tone it down a little bit, but also
did you see him take a deep breath when he got down to the bottom? He's like, like, oh shit.
I was like, man, that's an extra round he just did, basically.
It's gonna be a Deontay Wilder situation where he's like, dude, it was a walkout that really drained me.
I legit thought that multiple times throughout the event about Deontay Wilder.
It was so funny, man. So funny, but now after that though, Kim comes out to Welcome to the Jungle.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, damn, that's pretty legit too, man.
Yeah.
But
Kim's
I
cool,
love
man.
the
He's a fun fighter.
he seems super fun, dude. He was talking
Yeah.
trash. He was like lifting his hands up after he landed a
Dude,
shot, you know?
So in that third round, when he landed that, I think it was a left hand, he landed hard and he puts his hands up like, "What's up, dude?
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do about that?" It's so sick, dude.
It was a lot of fun.
Sick.
This fight, though, was probably my my favorite fight.
It was really good. Yeah. This was,
It was back and
outside
forth.
for me, the Satoshi McKee fight was the best one, but this was definitely a close second. I really liked this fight.
It was a fun fight, man. Kim had nonstop pressure moving forward. Submission attempts, as you see here in the picture.
The ninja choke, the guillotine, both of those were tight.
They were super
very tight. Yeah.
Yeah. When he
Archuleta.
caught him in that ninja choke, for sure, I thought he was out. And then the way that he just rolled out of it, rolling his back, and then kind of got into his side there. And I was like, okay, it looks like he's safe from there. And it was still a little tight. But then, Kim probably thought, like, well, I'm just going to get gassed at this point because I'm not going to be able to finish him. So he let him go wisely. Look at that glove, man.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Best gloves in the business, for sure. But
good glove.
This is one that, I had Kim winning this one pretty handedly, honestly. I did not think Archuleta. Archuleta wins if this was a Bellator fight with Bellator rules. But shooting on takedowns, sitting in takedown attempts, and then once you get the takedown, just kind of controlling, that doesn't get you really anything. That gets you 20 points. Damage, I thought Kim was landing, especially towards the end of the fight, was really kind of
and
landing
on that leg,
Archuleta.
on that lead leg, he landed a lot of leg kicks. I thought he had Archuleta hurt on that leg, and I was surprised. Like in the later rounds, he kind of laid off the leg kicks a little bit more.
I think because he started having success with the hands, and he's like, "This is more fun." But it's like, no, but just do the leg kicks. But yeah, I mean, he did the damage in this fight, and I thought the aggression was from Kim as well, because every time Archuleta did get the takedowns, he just wanted to control, and even his coaches were yelling at him not to do anything aggressive on top. They're literally like, "Don't take his back, just keep the pressure right here. Don't." And then like they were literally yelling at him not to land ground and pound, not to transition, literally just sit here. And then in the third round, Kim takes him down, and he's got him, and Herzog stands them up in like after like 5 seconds of Kim being on top.
That was weird.
That was when like a thing went off, and I was like, that's really weird. And then in the same round, a minute later, Archuleta sat on a single leg in the corner for like 45 seconds. And it's like, if you're going to separate while Kim is landing body strikes on top after 5 seconds, you got to separate on a 45-second takedown attempt. Like, what is weird?
It would have been different if, again, Herzog did all 5 fights.
Yeah, no.
And it would have been different if it was the same thing, fight after fight after fight, where like after 5 seconds being down, he didn't see anybody trying to gain a better position, transition to something different, that he would stand him up. But that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
That was the fastest stand up of the entire night.
Really, really weird. The only stand up of the night that I can remember, and there was multiple times throughout the fight where Archuleta was on top, not doing anything for much longer, and yeah, it was just really weird, kind of bizarre. The only thing I could think of, I'll give Herzog the benefit of the doubt. The only thing I could think of is Archuleta had him locked down, right? He had like the back grip, the over under, locked it up, and was holding him tight. Kim was just landing body shots. Maybe he saw that as Kim accepting, like, okay, I'm not even going to try to pass. So he's like, I'll just stand him up now. But it's like, you don't really get to make that call. That's not really but if that's the line of thinking, at least I understand it a little bit. Otherwise, it made no sense. It was really, really weird.
You should ask him.
His DMs are private, so we've reached out. But I thought this was a clear win for Kim on the belt or the RIZIN rule set.
I did want to give some props to Archuleta though on the timing of some of his takedowns.
Oh, I mean, he
really
fought a
good
great
timing.
fight.
Elbows on the exits.
Yeah, the elbows were good. And that being said, in the unified rules, Archuleta won this fight. I don't want to say like he didn't have a good fight. It's just in this rule set, I thought Kim took it pretty convincingly. Yeah. What are you going to do?
Did they say anything specific about that? I mean, they were fighting technically at RIZIN.
They're
but
fighting
did they
at
say
RIZIN.
like, hey, we're
I mean, I don't know if
at this differently.
I didn't hear anything about how they're scoring, but they used the RIZIN rule sets in the fight, so I would assume they're using RIZIN rules all around. But maybe not.
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. But a great showing from Kim in this one. I thought he looked really good.
Hey,
he has that
Bellator,
weird
maybe they should be the first ones to adopt the RIZIN rule sets.
I do still think the one rule set is the best. I don't necessarily agree with the 50, 30, 20 thing that RIZIN does.
I'm saying like the knees to the down opponent and soccer kicks, and they should be the first ones to adopt it.
12-6 elbows.
Which fighter was it on the interview where they're like, man, I've been dreaming about this day, being able to soccer kick people. And I was
AJ.
like, yeah.
AJ's always
who it was, yeah.
The whole lead up. He's like, I cannot wait to land a soccer kick. It's like all I want from this. It's so funny. Because like that's what it. I mean, come on. You look back at Pride, and it's like what separated Pride is part of it is the rule set that was just so fucking sick. And I mean, and you saw it happen. He soccer kicked Satoshi. Satoshi's fine. It's not like the craziest thing in the world. It maybe looks scary because we're not used to it, but it's really not the end of the world. Head stomps. I don't know if I get behind head stomps. Body stomps is fine, but stomping on someone's head into a mat is. I don't think we need that.
Like, that's where I draw the line.
That's where I draw the line, honestly. But soccer kicks, I mean, their head at least gets somewhere to move. You know what I mean? You can you can roll with it a little bit, but you can't roll with a head stomp. You're just getting stomped into a hard surface.
That's a fact. All right.
Yeah.
This is the last fight we're going to be covering right now. But we have a Rabadanov versus Koji Takeda.
Yeah. This is a fun fight too. I enjoyed this fight.
Yes, it was.
I also think this fight could have gone either way too. Maybe I'm just a RIZIN fanboy, but I thought this could have gone either way.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think you're a little bit of a RIZIN fanboy, but also these fights were pretty close.
Yeah, I think they were close. I'm surprised
with the exception of Horiguchi.
That's really the only blowout.
Really yeah,
that's the only blowout, and it was a blowout.
But Koji coming in and again making it a fun fight. They were trading in the beginning.
Yeah,
dude, right off the bat, lowering his hands as he's walking in. They're both so light on their feet, and they're bouncing back and forth as they're measuring distance. That I thought, I was like, did I accidentally hit like speed forward a little bit on this? They're so fast, man. They're just like bouncing back and forth. But then every time he'd come in, like his hands were at his waist, and every time he'd throw, a leg kick, his hand,
the other arm is down. Yeah.
Or
even when he's throwing a punch, the other arm's down.
Yeah, it's just like constant change.
Rabadanov like, I could time this.
Yeah, and he did, and he clocked.
He dropped him, man.
He did, but props to Koji for surviving.
Yeah, surviving, and then once he survived, I mean, he really took it to him throughout the rest of the fight. Takeda was really pushing the pace and landing his own shots. I liked this fight. This was a fun fight. It was competitive. I think I was really impressed with Takeda's like defensive wrestling. He hit a switch on a guy who you're not like switches aren't supposed to work on guys who their names end with an O and V. You know what I mean? Like that's and he hit it. He did it well too. And I was not much to really say about this fight, other than it was close enough so that when it cut to Khabib after the fight, he shrugged.
Yep,
he was like. I don't know who won that one.
Hey, do they test in RIZIN?
Do they what? Hell no, dude. Let it fly.
I was gonna say all these guys look ripped.
Yeah, super ripped. They barely even test in Bellator.
That's true. Well,
but
yeah,
I don't think they do any drug testing in RIZIN. I mean, they have Gabby Garcia fighting. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a good point.
She fought like Asian Hillary Clinton that one time.
What?
It's like, what are we doing, man? She fought like a 50-year-old lady, dude. It was crazy. When RIZIN first started, it was people think it's wild now. But when RIZIN first started, man, it was the fucking wild, wild west. It was crazy. But they've
just settled down to capture more eyeballs, dude.
Yeah, and it worked. They got look where they are now. They're doing pretty well. I don't know how they're making any money outside of the Yakuza, but because they'll get guys like Floyd Mayweather and pay him like a ridiculous amount of money for an exhibition fight, and then lose their broadcasting rights, so they can't even show it to people. And then it's like, how are you getting the money to pay for Mayweather? And then it wasn't during this, but during RIZIN 40, the card before this, they announced that Pacquiao is going to fight over in RIZIN. So it's like
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and
2023, expect Pacquiao and Ryzen is what I read.
Yeah, and it's like where do you get the money to pay these guys? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, they couldn't even broadcast this in America.
Dude, by the way, when I was talking about not handing mics over to fighters, this is exactly why they handed this guy the mic. He's breathing so heavy. He's like, and I want to thank my corner. And this is the longest post-fight, I wouldn't even say interview because he's just talking into the mic. And then he stops for a second, and you hear the translator kick on, and he goes, and one more thing. Like in the middle, while she's translating, and he did that like 4 or 5 times. And finally at the end, she's just like, whatever, dude. Like, just get out of here. It was funny, awful. Dude. It was awful.
Yeah, it was anytime you do an event like this, there's gonna be some kinks. You know what I mean? There's a lot of moving pieces. They got 2 teams of ring card girls. It's crazy. You know? That would have been cool.
Sure, Habib was very happy to see that they brought the ring card girls along from Bellator.
Not just that, but Bellator brought them and Ryzen had their own. So he was like, this is extra pointless. Shout out Habib.
Oh, funny.
But I enjoyed the card. It's a bummer that a lot of people's takeaway, because a lot of people, I don't know how many people watched this. They did it on a tape delay. A lot of people found out. I saw on the Reddit thread, like, what the hell? I already missed it. I thought it was tonight. Like, so much confusion over all that stuff. I don't know. Dude,
I'm glad I watched it when you let me know about it, because later on at night, I had already finished watching the fights. It's like 7. I'm just scrolling through Instagram, right? And there's a bunch of posts about
exactly.
Bellator goes 5-0, AJ McKee the winner, like all this stuff all the way down. It's like, and from Bellator.
Yeah, and that's what kind of sucks is like a lot of people's takeaways, like, oh yeah, Bellator went over to RIZIN and they went 5-0. Like, yeah, the RIZIN fighters aren't very good, because I've seen people talk about how RIZIN doesn't have top talent, and it's like, I mean, every organization has guys at the bottom. They're necessary, but then you look at some of the guys who have had success. You got Manel Cap, you got Yuri Prohaska, you have Horiguchi. Like, they're definitely legit. I just hope the main takeaway from this event isn't that, like, oh yeah, RIZIN's still like a B tier league. You know what I mean? Because like you said, outside of the only fight that wasn't close was technically 2 guys under RIZIN contract. So it's like,
would you say it? I mean, people considering it a B tier league when they went 5-0 against a B tier league.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, would that make them a C tier?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I just hope this doesn't drop their stock that much. And it's weird. RIZIN kind of operates this way where they don't. It's almost like they want their guys to lose. It's kind of weird. Like, they bring in like Mayweather to fight like their top guys, knowing that they're definitely going to lose, because like it's Mayweather, and they pay him a bunch of money to, and they always bring in guys to beat their guys. It's really weird. It's been like that for a while. So yeah, I don't know.
You have contacts in one. You haven't tried to get any contacts through RIZIN?
I've tried, and there's a disconnect.
You just gotta be careful with some of those contacts.
I don't think RIZIN is trying to take over the way One is trying to take over. I think they're happy doing what they're doing right now, because they keep losing broadcasting rights for America. Like, you can't buy the events. You can buy. I was able to buy RIZIN 40, but then this doesn't have any broadcasting rights, and partly that's because Bellator wanted to do it exclusively on Showtime on tape delay. But the last time Mayweather fought, it was technically not broadcast legally in America, and I think when they did the match with Takuru versus Tenshin, I think that was also not technically broadcast in America. So I don't think they really care. I don't know how they get there. I don't know what's going on over there. It's fucking chaos. So there's not the aggressive push for America like One has. You know what I mean? I think One is trying to take anything they can get right now, and that's how we've been able to talk to them.
Well, I don't know.
Shout out Ty. Shout out McKee, Valentina.
Yeah, all your boys. But hey, that was it. Those were the fights we're going to cover.
RIZIN 40 was good.
RIZIN
40 was good. If you want to go back and watch that.
Yeah, UFC Fight Night, January 14th.
You're like, nah. Hey, John Dodson got a nice knockout.
Hey, props to John Dodson. Back on the win column, huh?
Yeah, so next week, no fights.
Nope.
So we'll do our 2022 recap, right? Our awards and our all that stuff. We got an interview that we're recording next week or this week.
Yup.
Shout out Chris Camozzi. I gotta tell you some stuff off air about that, but
yeah, and Rich points out here as well the predictions episode, right? So
that's the recap, right?
We have to go through, take a look at all the listeners' picks and see who it is that won, so we can get them their little their mini belt.
Their mini belt, and then I think probably once we do the recap, I think we should do awards, right? Knockout of the year, submission, all that stuff, and then the recap of like the fan picks. See if maybe. I don't know. Are you a reigning champ, or are you gonna have to ship me the belt? Right?
I don't know yet. We
I don't know yet. I haven't
take
looked.
a look.
We both did pretty bad. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we definitely both did pretty bad. And then after we do the recap of picks, I think then we can do the predictions for the end of this year. Maybe. I think that's a solid. You know. What I mean?
For sure. That might be a long episode.
Yeah, we'll have to talk after this and kind of plan that out and see how we can move it along and all that stuff. Maybe we cut down on awards. Maybe just knockout, submission, comeback, and then fight. Maybe no event of the year.
Fight of the year?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We got a week.
Shout out.
Here we are Saturday. Like, hey, what are we gonna do tomorrow, guys?
I know. Yeah. Shout out Tony. Shout out the spam comment we got from Twitch.
Hey, that's awesome. All right. Well, hey, again, if you even remotely like our content, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Goes a long way. You get notified whenever we upload any interviews, talk RIZIN, talk One, UFC, bare knuckle. We haven't talked bare knuckle in a long time.
It's been a while, man. That's what happens when you kill a person,
Dang, dude. Yeah, and then of course
we will talk bare knuckle though. We will talk bare knuckle soon. Kamosi just had a nice knockout in bare knuckle, and he's looking for another one. So we'll definitely talk about bare knuckle coming up soon.
There we go. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, Anchor FM, and then social media.
Yes, at Story the Fight on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, Twitch, everywhere. StoryTheFight.com.
Yeah, and just so you know, this podcast produced by Rich Bustos. Hey, there we go. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to another week of Story of the Fight.